You're breaking the
Breaking the
rule.
law.
I hear sound on YouTube. So
Okay.
something's working.
Where's your mask, Mike?
Right here.
There you
I have a concealed permit.
go. You have a non-conformance here, and this is the property change trigger.
Yeah.
Booted to the floor. Like, I know with an overlay district, if you do more than 50% of the property, then you have to conform to the. How does that work, or does it, when you have a non-conforming? You're changing, you're updating non-conforming. Is that just a matter of the zoning, of changing the zoning? There's no.
Perfect.
Oh, new person.
New person, Denise Key. Oh, Denise, I'm sorry, I didn't know your last name was hyphenated, so we'll get that fixed too on the roster.
Because my thinking was, it's not an overlay, and if.
So Denise didn't know that she could park in the garage, so she's parked at a meter, and if the meeting is still going on at about 6 o'clock, she's gonna have to just run and feed the meter. So, just an FYI.
Thank you.
Yeah, because at 6:01, you know what's going to happen.
Exactly. It's nice to meet you.
Interesting. So we do, there was on live TV whenever we came. So. Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I think it's preferred, but we could just turn this around.
I think I have
The audio.
great speed.
Okay, good. Did that fix the issue?
Yeah, I didn't know that where the wire line. But
We do this.
I go on.
Yeah.
Heard sounding.
Perfect.
Working. People like.
I just wonder if I could use the icon. Because I can just.
Like in the board. Yeah, I do the same thing. Maybe it was. Is this true?
Yeah.
I own my phone. I don't know if it's gonna.
I can be-
This. Too short. Technical issue, sorry. Okay, Chair, I think we are just about ready. I can introduce him. Okay, we'll wait to start until you get back.
So, yeah, then. Yeah. Maybe a smaller.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, before tonight's meeting begins, I'd like to introduce a new member of the Development Commission, Denise, and I think Shannon has a few comments about Denise's very impressive background.
Denise Shanklin was appointed to the Development Commission at City Council on Monday evening. She's an injury management supervisor at the Ohio Bureau of Workmen's Compensation, and she completed training on boards and commissions through Women for Economic and Leadership Development. And she's also working on her master's in public administration. So we welcome Denise for her very first Development Commission meeting. Filling a vacancy since June of 2019.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time coming.
Not a coveted job. Okay, before we, as usual, we will start tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I am in our snow-covered lawn. Pledge of Allegiance to Okay, case number one. Z21-099-6617 Bryce Grove Boulevard.
The 28.79 acre site consists of one parcel developed with a 240 unit apartment complex, multiple dwelling development in the PUD 6 planned unit development district. This site is development area 3 of a larger PUD 6 development as permitted by ordinance number 1217-01, which is limited to a maximum of 240 units of site. The requested LAR 12 limited apartment residential district proposes 2 units to be added within the existing clubhouse building. To the north, across Abbey Trails Drive, are City of Columbus Parkland and an apartment complex in the PUD 6 planned unit development district. To the east is City of Columbus Parkland in the PUD 6 planned unit development district. To the south is Pickerington Ponds Metro Park in Madison Township. To the west is an apartment complex in the LAR 12 limited apartment residential district and a self-storage facility under construction in the LL limited manufacturing district. The Blacklick Trail runs through the eastern frontage of the site. The site is within the boundaries of the Southeast Land Use Plan, which recommends low to medium density residential and open space land uses at this location. Columbus citywide planning policies, design guidelines are also applicable to the site. The limitation tax permits all AR 12 district uses and will allow for up to 244 units. The text also includes supplemental development standards that address maximum number of units per building, building height, setbacks, site access, landscaping, building materials, garage requirements, and lighting controls. Concurrent council variance CB 21-129 has been filed to permit a 2-unit dwelling within the clubhouse in the proposed LAR 12 district. That request will be heard by city council and will not be considered at this development committee. The site is within the boundaries of the Greater Southeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval and is within your supplemental package. The requested LAR 12 limited apartment residential district will permit additional uses within an existing apartment complex. Or sorry, additional units. The proposal remains consistent with land use recommendation of the Southeast Land Use Plan and is compatible with surrounding development. Therefore, the city department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, traffic in, no traffic issues. Parks, recreation and parks,
No parks issues.
and planning. No issues. Okay, is there anyone here to speak tonight regarding case number 1, Bryce Grove Boulevard?
I'm Rebecca Mott with the Plank Law Firm with an office address of 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio. We're here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, you have staff approval and you have area commission approval. So you touched all those bases. I have no question. Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? In that case, let's move the agenda along and call the roll.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Amanda Golden. Oh, I'm sorry, she's not here. Tony Brisson,
Yes.
Kay Woodway,
Yes.
Denise Keys Shanklin.
Yes.
And Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you.
Okay, case number 2, Z21-096, 910 Denison Ave.
Before I begin, please see the 2 opposition letters from neighbors with concerns regarding the proposal. Speak on
Okay, we'll get to you in a second.
that. The site consists of 1 parcel developed with a dental office in the ARLD apartment residential district. The applicant is requesting the ARO apartment office district to permit the existing dental office to remain with the addition of 2 dwelling units above. North of the site are single unit dwellings in the ARLD apartment residential district. South and east of the site are 2 unit dwellings in the ARLD apartment residential district. And west of the site are townhomes in the ARLD apartment residential district. Current CB 22-001 group files to permit a 2-unit dwelling in the ARO apartment office district and includes variances to parking setback, interior parking lot landscaping, maneuvering, and rear yard. The request will be heard by city council and will not be considered at the development commission meeting. The site is not within the site is not within a planning boundary of a city council adopted land use plan, but will require approval from Victorian Village Commission regarding the final design of the proposed addition. The site is located within the boundaries of Victorian Village Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The proposed ARO apartment office district will permit the addition of 2 apartments over an existing dental office. The proposed ARO district will not add incompatible uses, permits the existing dental office to remain, and is consistent with the existing zoning pattern of the neighborhood. Additionally, a certificate of appropriateness from the Victorian Village Commission will be required for final design of the proposed additions, and therefore city department's recommendation is for approval.
Any questions? Okay, traffic, Dan?
We have no issues with the unrestricted zoning district. We do have some comments that will impact the parking and
It's another day and another group. Captain,
No comments this time.
Chris?
planning is no comments for.
All right, we've heard one speaker. Is there any other speakers besides the one gentleman that raised his hand? Anyone else? Okay, is there anything you would like to add to the staff's presentation before we have the opposition speaker?
No.
Okay, you will leave a place at the table so he can come forward and give us his comments, and then we'll call you back. Please come up and give us your name.
I have some prepared comments that I would like to read from. They're brief. I think they will address the concerns of myself and the neighbors that I have spoken to. My name is Dan Downing, and I have lived at 928 Denison Avenue for 25 years. My home is just north of the property seeking the zoning change. My testimony here today also reflects that of my neighbors at 926 Denison Avenue, who have also filed their opposition to this zoning change request. The immediate neighborhood is exclusively original residences, many of which are historically significant and worth well over $500,000 apiece. All appear from the curb as single-family dwellings and townhouses, even though some include rental units within some of these structures. The proposed development would be an unwelcome anomaly in the neighborhood. The 910 address is grandfathered for limited commercial use. The owners knew and accepted this when they acquired the property years ago. The owners already have the necessary zoning to build residential units, which, if built, should be required to comply with existing zoning codes without change. Changing the zoning code allows for any number of business types in the future, would set a dangerous precedent by encouraging others to seek commercial zoning changes as well, and threatens to alter the character of this historic residential neighborhood forever. The proposed development would sit atop the existing structure at the back corner of the property, about 2 feet from the property line that it shares with the home at 150 West First Avenue. Adding additional height to the 910 structure would deprive the First Avenue yard of sunlight for most of the day and place the second floor of the proposed structure about 4 feet from the second floor of the First Avenue home. Any new residential development should be built next to the sidewalk with buffer yard space around the sides, like every other home in the neighborhood is built, and not on the far back corner of the property. The proposed development includes a parking lot fronting both First and Denison Avenues and covers about 60% of the total land area. This would give the appearance of an office building on a commercial street, such as High Street, Main Street, Broad Street, or some other commercial corridor, and not the residential streets that comprise this neighborhood of Victoria Village. This is not an appropriate land use for this residentially zoned property. Any new development should be built within the residence near the street in the parking lot and the parking in the rear or underground with no commercial use. If they want commercial use, they already have that. If they want residential use, they already have that too. What they don't have and what they should not be allowed to have at this location is commercial mixed-use development. Additionally, no environmental or neighborhood impact studies have been conducted, regarding this proposed zoning change request. Because there are myriad unaddressed issues and permanent negative impacts to the historic preservation of Victorian Village regarding this zoning change request, we ask that it be denied and the owners directed to work within the existing zoning codes and not be allowed to further alter the historic nature of Victorian Village, a neighborhood which the property owners do not live in. Thank you.
Okay, one quick question. Were you in attendance at the Victorian Village Commission meetings as this was?
No, I did not find out about this until last Thursday. And I'm surprised I even found out about it. Our mail service is pretty sketchy where I live.
The Victorian Village Commission does not send notice for their meetings. You have to basically just browse their website for their agenda.
They are also a design review board. They're not a traditional.
Right, they're not a
Commission.
They don't do zoning.
Land use plan for Victorian Village and they're never had.
Okay, so I know that this property is currently zoned for residential apartments. Decades ago, back 60 years ago, this was
Yes.
a gas station. I believe there still may be underground tanks. And I believe this is why the owners of this property want to build on top of the existing former gas station building, rather than put whatever residence is what they want to put up next to the street where every other residence is. Because obviously digging up gas tanks is not cheap, so they want to kind of do an end run around that to build apartments on top. And this is just a grab for money.
All right, let's get the equipment back up there. And we'll- Okay, you heard the comments. Speaker, we also have a letter from Kendra McSweeney, so.
So the first comment is right now it's a dental office. So dental offices are not an inexpensive structure to construct. And Dr. Yanklevich, Michael's wife, already has an established dental office there. And closing that office down to be able to move the structure is not cost feasible, and nor is it feasible for the vitality of her business. So adding above the structure is so that the Yankleviches can actually move downtown and use, so that they can have work, office, a mixed, office space, homework space. So it's not about moving gas tanks if they are still located underneath the parking lot, which they have been in.
Yes, I believe this was part of the environmental study prior to purchasing the building. Those were removed a long time ago. To the best of our knowledge, there's no tanks at this time or any other remnants of the gas station. Whatever was left, the valve systems and piping was removed during the reconstruction for the dental office, which was conducted in accordance with all the permits and laws and regulations.
Okay, do you have any drawings of what you're proposing to do?
Yeah.
Elevation.
And then also along with that, on the north block or north side of that block, so at 938 Denison Avenue, that is actually also a mixed-use building where there is, I believe, retail on the first floor and above it is apartments.
Insurance company.
Office space with living space above it.
Okay, let's say I'm standing on the sidewalk looking at what's there now. What am I gonna look like after you've finished?
That will have to go before the Victorian Village Commission for the design of the building. And the site plan that's reflected is only being committed to with the council variance, so it's not.
Okay, so
Part of the zoning.
the footprint will be the footprint. It's already there.
Right.
No other footprint. Okay, no problem. That's what I'm saying now.
which obviously came into effect before the Victorian Village Commission. The
Right.
design review.
We also worked with Victorian Village Commission for
It-
7
7
months.
months, and multiple designs were proposed. Some versions were very close, design-wise to the surrounding buildings. And specifically, we were guided towards not mimicking the Victorian look to the modern building, but instead tastefully blending the modern look into existing structures around.
Well, just so you're clear, our charge here is to determine whether you are an appropriate land use or you are not an appropriate land use. We don't get into the same kind of considerations that Victorian Village or German Village or Italian Village get into with details and colors and materials. Simply whether it's appropriate or is it not appropriate. And you will have to go through that with the Victorian Village Commission before anything can be accomplished. What we levy in on tonight is whether this is appropriate or not appropriate. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions or comments? Dan?
I do. I'd sure like to see a better detailed site plan. I mean, when I look at this thing and I see what I assume to be your property line here against that concrete wall, we've got all kinds of trash cans and recycling going on out there, and I'm just, again,
That is,
is the use appropriate? That's really the question. But secondly, how does the thing actually, there's degrees of appropriateness, I guess you could say. I just
I would-
feel like you're a little flimsy in the.
Yeah, I would. Sorry for the sound effects. These are the only 2 sheets that were in our packet. They don't really communicate what you intend to do. That's why I asked my question. And I think
Site plan?
there's
There's a
a,
site plan in the PowerPoint. Yeah, we typically don't include those too often in the staff reports because it's not part of the zoning district, but this site plan will be committed to, I think, that Victorian Village approved, made a recommendation of approval for this specific site plan. They will have to then approve the building design.
well, I tend to agree with the Victorian, or with the area commission, the Victorian Village Commission so far, that what you have there now looks like it's still a gas station. It's pretty ugly. And what your intentions appear to be, in my imagination, don't seem to go in the wrong direction. But it doesn't really communicate what you're going to do very well. So the land use, add some residential above this existing structure, may indeed increase the appeal and fit into the neighborhood better, which is probably why you got an approval from both the staff and the area commissions. It really comes down to whether you achieve and jump all the hurdles at Victoria Village Commission and satisfy their need for all these details. So if we're going to vote on this tonight, it's going to be strictly, is it appropriate land use to put living above this previously operating gas station, or is it not? And you're going to have a lot more work to do before you go to the Victorian Village Commission to convince them that what your intentions are will benefit.
We have actually, we have all of our approvals through the Victorian Village Commission.
They've got approval.
Oh, you already have approval?
Correct.
Yeah,
they don't
I just,
You'll have to go to city council.
yeah, I'm just, again, just as a general note, I realize that, PPD or something like that, that they have to commit to a site plan. Still, there's a quid pro quo here on appropriateness and the level of what they had to present to Italian Village was certainly higher than what they're giving us here. And in the future, I'd sure like to see some supporting documentation so that it's not, oh, well, we've got through them and
In the future, we'll make sure that we include those in the staff report, but we will mark them not part of the zoning district request, just so that it's clear.
One thing to mention as well is that, again, there's no land use plan that they're trying to conform to. The community has never had a voice in doing this, right? So it's making a statement of appropriateness, but there's no plan to look at and say, this is what the community wants or doesn't want. It's never been done.
according to the testimony of the other witness, there was no representation of any of the opponents at Victorian Village.
We weren't even aware.
They'll have their voice at city council though. They'll get notice for the meetings at city council and they will. There is no code requirement for the Victorian Village Commission to send notice for their meetings. There's only requirement that we send a notice to Victorian Village for this meeting. So unfortunately, I can't fix this code right now. Perhaps when we get it updated.
We had a couple of conversations with neighboring residents. They came up to dental office and spoke to my wife. It was never a secret what we're planning to do.
I live next door and I did not know about this until Thursday.
I apologize for not personally.
All right, that, I don't want to hear any more back there. We're moving in the right direction. Let's keep it that way. Since there is no public notice, normally there is what's the distance, 150 feet?
125 feet.
125 feet. Anyone within 125 feet of the property border is getting a written notice.
Of this meeting
This meeting
and the
here,
council,
but not city council, so.
not the
Victorian Village.
Yeah.
So we're coming in after the fact as far as Victorian Village is concerned, because they've already looked at where you go. And they've cast their opinion. Admittedly, they cast that opinion without opposition input. So I will ask you, would you like to go forward and have a vote and move on to next stop city council? Or would you prefer to table and allow for some more pertinent information to be put on the table for us to make a determination?
What type of pertinent information?
Well, means and methods. What are you going to do? How's it going to look?
We've done all of that work. We have the site plan right there up on the screen. Like, we've done all of our due diligence up to this point that we've been requested to do. I don't understand what additional information is required.
Well, the first look at this was just 5 minutes ago. So, we get these packets 2 weeks in advance and we review them and we look at the site. That wasn't it. And we know that if you got approval from Victorian Village, that you had to make quite a much larger presentation of your work. So that's all we just ordered dinner and we got an appetizer and they said that's it. So.
Well, I got, that's on staff. That's not on this applicant.
Yeah, I understand.
We have that information. We just typically do not include information that's not committed to the zoning district request. The
Right,
zoning district request is an ARO district. They can't build what they want to build without the variance, which is going to include those documents.
I propose that we vote on this. We do have an information sheet that will go to city council. In case of a negative vote or a split vote, we fill this out. I'm submitting that no matter what the vote is, we fill this out so that our comments are made known to city council, but you pretty much already got the green light for what you're going to do. without even having to,
From Victorian Village.
From
not-
Victorian
not from
Village.
the city council, just be clear, there is another public hearing required for this project.
but they will have the benefit of the thinking here. We will limit what our thoughts are to, is it appropriate to have living above what used to be a gas station, or is it not appropriate? And the rest is in the hands of Victorian Village and City Council.
I do have one more question, just. So you're not asking for a height variance at all?
No,
This is-
we are not.
It's okay, all right.
This, if I may,
Yes,
this was a gas station in the fifties, and it was converted to a medical office later on, looks like in the eighties. And then when the building was purchased by us for the purpose of becoming a dental office, it was a billing office for that medical office that expanded and moved.
laptop dropped off and went back.
Yeah.
And then I can log.
And Ken, the only one that's having, should have.
You connected now.
I should have asked which ones. All of them?
Everything.
No.
Well,
I will.
Then in the doc.
Okay.
that's.
So Shannon, was that one of these
Zoning clerk for
30-second timeout?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
You gotta be prepared for Sunday.
Man, I'm so excited.
Although.
The team aerial. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. That was, they're crazy. I mean, they're absolutely nuts. I don't know.
What?
The team, the ski aerial jumping team thing this morning, because, you know, my kid swims at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I think we were actually ready to go to take him to school, so it was a little bit before 7.
You're probably gonna go.
And the second, so it's 2 guys and 1 woman. And the first guy, US male that went, nailed it. I mean, it was like the hardest jump you could do, and he nailed it. And so the Swedish jumper who followed him, like there, because it's like diving. Yeah, he's they own it. And the guy fell. But he actually didn't fall. It's actually more, she's bizarre. He landed in front of you, that thing, propelled him, he did a flip, so he's landing on his feet, so I'm like, you could just say that if I'm changing. Yeah, or like complete deduction. So, but they couldn't, they're.
Okay, so just you staff recommends approved.
So, we got, this is the first year apparently. It's really anything. Okay. Anyway, so, you know, yeah. So go out, make an agreement. That is like. Well, Chloe can.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. Want to see people do right, right? And that's the thing, that's why my heart breaks for Michaela. Just, oh my God, that's like. Years to get to this and then. oh. 4 years? Yeah. Everybody was expecting him to get gold and it was like a mini valley. My husband and I like to meet up. We usually go to like,
Hey, Mike, when I looked at that in your breath.
for dinner outdoors, so I gotta, every now and again, I'll be like. Not looking good.
On the access, it goes to 2 lots.
Is your son?
Jeff Brown,
Yeah.
I forget.
So we are on, that's my point.
Oh, yeah, that would. Yeah, it would.
Yeah, so I'm up in Portage during season, and then I'm like, no, I should just keep it up, but then I'm like, no, I can't keep it up. November until this week will be the last. I go to bed around midnight, so it's not. Yeah, so it's not enough. My eating class. I'm staggering in and out. Just be glad you're not creepy in class. Because really. Eric was definitely one. Yeah, we were, but, first year. Go, yeah.
But no, my longest.
He said 20 years of experience. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That's a long time ago. Does feel like, you know, it's already, I love mixed use.
Wow.
Residential, not kind of there's.
I would, yeah.
Never been engaged
That
and don't even tell me that they're.
was pretty quick.
But it's.
It did.
That's a resident.
It did.
I was member of the commission, as a resident, I will tell you. We've seen what they've approved.
Yes.
Same amount of money.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Read the right thing.
Yeah, I did. I was feeling.
I'll be right
Absolutely.
I'm surprised he was able to park.
I'm back and I'm ready to.
Okay, 30-second timeout, it's over, get back on the field. Okay. I will recall the case. It is case number 9. Z21-0887, 3573 Agler Road.
This application was tabled at the January 2022 Development Commission meeting to allow more time for the applicant to resolve staff comments and pending traffic impact study to be completed. The 28.38 acre site consists of 4 undeveloped parcels in the AR12 apartment residential, SR suburban residential, R1 residential, and R rural district, with annexation pending on the parcel which runs on Stelzer Road. The requested LM Limited Manufacturing District will permit office and warehouse developments. North of the site are single-unit dwellings in the PUD8 Planned Unit Development District, an apartment complex in the AR1 Apartment Residential District, and a gas utility building in the LC4 Limited Commercial District. To the east are single-unit dwellings and a church in the rural district in Mifflin Township. To the east across Stelzer Road are undeveloped platted lots in the urban residential district in Mifflin Township. To the west and south is office warehouse development in the LM Limited Manufacturing District and undeveloped land pending zoning to the LM Limited Manufacturing District with rezoning application Z20-049. The site is subject to the I-670 graphics control overlay and is located within the boundaries of the Port Columbus Joint Economic Development Strategy, which recommends office land uses for this location. The site is also within the boundaries of the Northeast Area Plan, which recommends office light industrial land uses for this location. The Northeast Area Plan design guidelines recommend the inclusion of street trees in all new developments and landscape screening of parking lots, abutting roadways, if parking
attached. And the X's are all support letters that are attached behind the aerial photography. There's a lot of support for this. And you'll find a theme through the letters is old area needs attention, needs reinvestment. The businesses in the area need new potential customers and appropriate land use. So as you know from the previous speaker, Northwest Civic voted against the application, but the reason, one of the reasons was timeliness. And look, everybody on this commission knows the development business, and Jared has, he has his contract requires him to allow the businesses 18 months to relocate. And that doesn't start until he releases zoning contingency. So there's completing the zoning and the built-in year and a half on that. There's demolition of 3 buildings. There's site remediation. There's civil engineering work. There's architecture work, all to get this to a building permit. So being in February of 2022, given what needs to happen at a different site, not with those factors, sure, it would be developed faster. But given the factors that have to happen at this site, this is none too soon. In fact, the timing works great for the sanitary capacity coming on in 2025. And commission members, the risk here is preferred. There is I've discussed this project with Greg Fedner, with Andy Beard and Chris Rizzuti. And we were all in agreement that the risk here is preferred. If there's no sanitary in 2025, if it's 2027, if it's 2035, there's no building permit. There's no apartment building until that happens. So the timing issue, the timing actually works perfectly for Jared and preferred on this, given the things that have to happen. But if there's never any sanitary capacity, this apartment building won't be built. It's as simple as that. You have your packet of support letters. There's a lot of them. Let's see, we talked about lead time. You know, on the things change with area plans, and our planning division representative on area plans is here and can address this if needed. But things change, and what the context is of mixed use is always a point of discussion. Also, the entire area around this site is mixed use. There's lots of businesses on Kenny Road. There's some of them down Old Henderson. There's lots of employment opportunities. There's lots of retail use. There's lots of restaurant. The entire area is mixed use. The plan talking about mixed use doesn't mean that this building has to be fully self-sustaining with its own mix of housing, retail, and restaurants and offices and so on. So the mixed use issue depends on what context you take it in. And I would say that this is a component of a mixed use community.
Okay, I understand. I know we had a project that started to come through across the street north of Henderson, of New Henderson Road.
Yep.
Zimmerman, that had the sewer problem.
Yeah.
It ran right across their property. So they confronted that stand back situation immediately, and the property still sits idle.
Yeah.
I see this property, it's in a dead end area for any new commercial use. You're so far off of Kenny Road or Henderson that you have to have a destination driven operation to be there.
Right.
So I'm no stranger to the honey dip breakfast donuts. Shame to say.
Well, and the whole, I mean, that was part of the commercial discussion, Chair Fitzpatrick, because the west property line of this site is 800 feet from Kenny Road. There's no synergy with other commercial uses. There's no anchor to support, B space tenant space, B kind of space, the beauty salons, the card shops and so on. But it was important to the planning staff and it was important to NEAC, or excuse me, Northwest, I'm thinking of NEAC, but Northwest Civic Association. And Jared accommodated that. And whether it's, we don't know yet, whether it's going to be retail or office or fitness or a restaurant could work as a destination if it's attractive enough. But Preferred has stepped up and said, okay, we'll do it.
Well, and I think it goes, I mean, it's an absolute fact that if there's any issue with the Knowles sewer capacity, nothing's gonna happen. It's gonna
Absolutely.
wait until something changes because there's so many layers of engineering and approvals that are necessary of stormwaters and other things.
Right.
You have one question?
I submit to the commission that that is the concern, and that is why the risk is not on Preferred, but it's on residents. This requires completion of the LOT. So we're gonna have demolition and we're gonna have waiting in the meantime, but this may not even come to fruition. There are a lot of other proposals that could come up in the next years that might be mixed use or might give better use of the space that could come online prior to this development.
Number one, my own opinion, I don't speak for everybody here, but my own opinion is dry cleaners are not something you want in your neighborhood. And that alone, the presence of the potential ESA will hold the project up a year. If it was ready to go, everything was covered. So I'm thinking, is it appropriate or is it not appropriate? And I can't think of a more appropriate use, frankly, from my own point of view, given the territory. You're pretty close to the railroad tracks and you're at a dead-end cul-de-sac kind of location. I don't know, there's a child care facility halfway between this, which could contribute. It would be healthy for both sides of this equation. But there are no unknowns about whether or not this is going to happen. If there isn't a solution to the sewer capacity, it won't happen, nothing.
Right.
But I think to be on the track where you've got a user that's got 8 nearby business people there to support, it gets my attention. Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I would just add to that, that this timing issue was discussed on the Northwest Civic Association meeting and different scenarios played out of, well, maybe Preferred only tears down one building and leaves the other 2 buildings vacant. Maybe they tear down 2 buildings and leave the other one vacant, et cetera. But there's no benefit to doing that. And Preferred can't start a 3-year process of preparing this site. Preferred will have to buy the site, have to honor the contract terms of 18 months for these businesses to relocate, spend money tearing down buildings, spend money doing remediation for what will probably happen in 2025.
And it'll take you 6 months to get the documentation on that dirt.
So the risk is on Preferred, and say the sewer never happens. Say it never happens. Then
Not say that.
well, yeah, for you, we're not saying that, but say it never happens, then something would have to come back on rezoning to establish some kind of light office use that would stay within the capacity requirements, or something else that didn't require sanitary capacity. So there's just, as you indicated, 1965 dry cleaning plants are on the hit list.
Right. Okay, Johnny, you have a comment? No. All right, I think we all understand what we've got here, and I think traffic issues are within reach. We're on the same track we've been on half the projects referred to. Are there any motions we need to add to this text, or?
There's no time restricted district.
Okay, so please call roll.
John Ingwerson.
Yeah, I think just a comment that they've made an application. We have a known developer. And if something changes, the developer's a capitalist and he'll take care of whatever needs to happen with the disposition of the property and it'll go back to Northwest and, you know, there's some other plan. So I feel very comfortable that this is the right step. So I'll go yes.
Dan Moquay.
Yes.
Denise Keys Shanklin.
Yes.
Maria Conroy.
I agree that I think it is an appropriate use, but in recognition of the area commission, negative vote, I'm also going to vote no.
And Chair Fitzpatrick.
I will vote yes, so the request is approved 4-1, and we will fill out an information sheet for city council that will express our detailed points of view.
Good, thank you.
Okay. All right. Case number 11. Z21-077, 1199 Franklin Avenue.
Before I begin, please note the 3 letters of opposition included in your supplemental packet. The requested CPD commercial plan development district contains 3 proposed subareas. Subarea A consists of 1 parcel developed with the historic Avery Pontiac building listed on the Columbus Register of Historic Property. Subarea B consisted of a single unit dwelling that has since been torn down. And subarea C consists of 3 undeveloped parcels split zoned into CPD and R3 districts. The existing CPD district was established with ordinance 2124-2020. It was Z20-019, which received a recommendation of approval from the Development Commission in September of 2020. The applicant is proposing C3 commercial uses in subarea A consisting of 10,270 square feet of eating and drinking establishment with 800 square feet of outdoor dining space, 4,700 square feet of retail, and 12,437 square feet of office uses. Subareas B and C will be developed with 36 space and 32 space parking lot respectively, serving only those uses occurring within subarea A. The request adds additional acreage to subarea C to accommodate more parking spaces and also adjust the square footage of permitted uses within subarea A, including an increase in eating and drinking establishment and accessory patio space from the Z20-019 CPD district. North of the site is a mix of 1, 2, and 4 unit dwellings in the R3 residential district. South of the site are single unit dwellings in the R3 residential district. East of the site is a 2 unit dwelling and undeveloped land in the R3 residential district. And west of the site is a single unit dwelling and a mixed use building in the R3 residential district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Near East Area Plan, which does not contain a land use recommendation for this location, but does provide guidance on the development of new commercial uses within residential areas and encourages the preservation and renovation of historic structures rather than demolition. The plan also states that parking needs should be balanced with the goal of preserving the character of the neighborhood and creating a pedestrian-friendly environment. The site is located within the boundaries of the Near East Area Commission, is subject to review by the Historic Resources Commission. At the time this report was written, neither recommendation had been received by staff, but both of those are for approval. The CPD text establishes use restrictions and supplemental development standards for each sub-area, addressing building and parking setbacks, traffic access and parking, street trees, landscaping, light controls, and includes a commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plans. The text includes code modifications to the minimum number of loading spaces, vision clearance, and building setbacks for subarea A, interior and perimeter landscaping, and parking and building setbacks for subarea B, and parking setback in subarea C. Additionally, subarea A includes a parking reduction from 199 required parking spaces to 0 provided parking spaces. However, the CPD text clearly states, and is reflected on the submitted plan, that subareas B and C will be developed as parking lots containing 36 and 32 spaces respectively to solely support those uses in subarea A. With the increased intensity of the uses on site, The existing approved parking study from Z 20-019 was reviewed, and it was determined that the additional reduction in parking spaces can be supported by the Department of Public Service. The proposed CPD Commercial Plan Development District permits the reuse of the historic Avery Pontiac building into a mixed commercial development containing eating and drinking establishment, accessory patio, retail, and general office uses, and provides a total of 68 parking spaces. The CPD establishes appropriate use restrictions and supplemental development standards, including modifications to code standards for each subarea, and includes a commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan. Staff supports the requested code modifications because of the existing building's characteristics and urban setting. A review of the previously approved parking study done with Z 20-019 was completed, resulting in support for the requested parking reduction. The proposal is consistent with the Near East Area Plan's guidelines that historic property be preserved and renovated, and that parking needs to be balanced with the goal of preserving the character of the neighborhood and creating a pedestrian-friendly environment. And therefore, City Department recommends approval.
Okay, any questions? Dan, traffic issue?
Nothing to add to what's in the staff report.
Kathy?
Nothing additional.
And Chris, you got any questions? Okay. Is anyone here to speak regarding case number 11? Only one person here, so. There is no vote on the area commission.
No, it was
No,
approval.
It is approved.
Both the Near East Area Commission did recommend approval, and as well as the Historic Resources Commission.
Okay, great. All right. Is there anybody have any questions or comments for this case? Okay, please, David, identify yourself for the record.
Sure, thank you. I'm Dave Perry, here as agent for 1199 Franklin LLC. Members of the commission, in 2020, most of this property was rezoned to the CPD district to allow the renovation and preservation of the Avery Pontiac building, which is on both the national and local registers. It's been vacant for a long, long time. The owner of the building never had any parking. The 1199 LLC has assembled vacant property adjacent to the site. That's why there's 2 additional sub areas to tie that parking to the Avery building. Has assembled that additional property to provide parking for the property. So the property is on CPD now. What's changing is sub area C is getting an additional 2 rows of parking to expand the parking, and the mix of uses within the Avery building, proposed in the Avery building, are being changed from the 2020 zoning to provide a more square footage of eating and drinking, but there is still the same mix of retail, eating and drinking, and office uses. NEAC was very supportive of this. The question of me at NEAC was, where you been? Why isn't this building done? And the question at HRC was, okay, great, let's move on with the zoning variances. When's this building going to get done? And so I think I heard Tim said there were opposition letters. I'm not aware of them. I haven't seen them. And to Tim's credit, that may be because I've overlooked them in my email. But anyway, I'm not aware of any opposition, and this was wholeheartedly supported by NEAC and HRC.
Yeah, I got them today.
Yeah,
They seem to be mostly.
I figured it was either today or I missed them in email you sent me a week ago. So.
Well, and you have the Historic District Commission recommendation.
Yes.
The letters address mainly traffic issues on Gustavus and the fact that it's so narrow and it's unimproved. Well, there's a lot of potholes.
Yep.
And there's a resident of Old Town East tell you that city service is a little slim, thin occasionally. So
But they will pay for your new tire if you encounter that someone has before. Just call 311 and hang. Okay, I think we are ready to call the roll on this case.
Dan Lukewag,
Yes.
Denise Keys Shanklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Englerson,
yeah.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you.
Good evening. We will in a few minutes.
Yep.
Okay, we now come to our last case, case number 13, Z21-103, 4591 Indianola.
The 0.16 acre site consists of one parcel developed with a former dwelling converted to a law office in the R3 residential district, as was permitted by Council Variance CB 93-067, allowing only this use. The proposed C2 commercial district will allow all commercial office uses along with several non-office commercial uses. The intended use is an accountant's office. North, south, and west of the site are single-unit dwellings in the R3 residential district. East of the site, across Indianola Avenue, are several commercial sites, including a canine training facility, veterinary hospital, and an auto sales facility, all in the C4 commercial district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Clintonville area plan, which recommends mixed-use land uses at this location, supporting single and multi-unit residential, office, and retail uses. Plan also prioritizes improving the ability to walk to destinations, specifically along the Indianola corridor. The site is located within the boundaries of the Clintonville Area Commission, whose recommendation was scheduled for the February 3rd, 2022 meeting, which was postponed to this evening. I hope you're not missing the meeting.
I'm headed there next. It starts at 7, but I probably don't go on until about 7:30, so.
Great. The requested C2 commercial district will permit the applicant to utilize the building for all office and non-office uses as permitted by the district. The proposal is consistent with the Clintonville neighborhood plan and is a recommendation of mixed land uses at this location. Suggestion by the planning division to provide a sidewalk along Indianola Avenue frontage is being met with a city planned sidewalk installation project for the west side of Indianola Avenue, which will commence this summer. The applicant is also encouraged to provide street trees in coordination with the city forester, which could be installed in conjunction with the sidewalk project. I did confirm that the sidewalk project does not include street trees in front of this parcel, so. There is one letter of opposition that you received prior to the meeting, and I just put it in the supplemental packet, so you can have a printed copy of it. That's the only opposition I've received on this. After that, the city department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Shannon? Dan?
Nothing to add to the staff report.
Okay, recreation and parks.
Shannon, address the comments.
Got it. Okay, Chris?
Say bill for the government.
Okay, there is no one in the room that can possibly speak. Is there anything you would like to add besides your name for the record?
Sure, my name is Kurt Knapp. I'm counsel for the applicant, 4591 Indianola LLC. Again, we initially were going to go for a council variance to switch it from solely a law office to allow for general office use. And the recommendation of staff, we went for the C2 zoning, and that's why we're here.
Okay. I think you've been counseled well by Ms. Shannon.
Yes,
in
indeed.
light of that, I think it is just incumbent upon us to follow the roll.
Keith Shanklin. Maria Conroy. Yes. John Edwardson.
Yeah.
Pam Oakland. Sarah Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The easiest one was last, so.
That's rarely the case. That was in a 3-minute case.
Take care, everybody.
Just the
Thank you.
timing, the agenda was already set when we were talking about adding this. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate any problems with